This is breaking news on CBSN Minnesota.
Thanks for joining us here on CBSN Minnesota. We wanted to remind you that a curfew is now in place in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and several other communities until 6 tomorrow morning.
We also have some live pictures that we want to show you right now from Sky 4. The helicopter is transitioning. It was in North Minneapolis, where the Olympic Cafe in North Minneapolis is on fire. We believe it's heading more towards downtown right now, and at that point you might see some of the protesters that are out. Even though the curfew started at 8 o'clock, a number of protesters who are around the 3rd Precinct in Minneapolis have been ordered by state troopers and police to leave the area and disperse. They have not. We're an hour in and we haven't seen the police take any action against them. We're not sure how long they'll give them or how they will enforce that 8 o'clock curfew order. Just to set that up and let you know, we'll show you this chopper shot as we go ahead and go through this. While you're watching this, we want to bring you some of the answers to the questions that we asked of Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey today. Yeah,
our David Schuman had an interview set up when the mayor's office canceled. So instead, they answered questions that he emailed, and we want to read you those questions and answers. The first question was, when was the decision made that police would eventually vacate the 3rd Precinct, even if the exact time of that happening was not determined yet?
And here's the mayor's answer, and this is a direct quotation, word for word. Chief Arredondo and I made the decision early yesterday afternoon to significantly reduce our footprint in the 3rd Precinct. We also decided early that the option to vacate the 3rd Precinct needed to be on the table as a way to both help de-escalate and prevent hand-to-hand combat. Did I know with certainty it would need to happen? No. But at roughly 9:25 p.m., when it became clear we needed to divert resources from the 3rd Precinct to help provide a response to activity downtown, I made the decision. I notified the chief, then the governor shortly after. The next question we asked was the plan for maintaining order in that neighborhood? Was that the plan for maintaining order in that neighborhood? In hindsight, it appears as if the city was content with letting it get overrun, which WCCO sources shared with us. Officers felt that was the directive.
And the mayor's response is that could not be farther from the truth. On Wednesday, May 27th at or around 6:30, after people began looting Target, Chief Arredondo called me to tell me that we needed support from the Minnesota Guard. He goes on to say, I called the governor seconds after that call to officially ask him to provide that support. The next day, early morning, a commander and deputy chief reached out to the Department of Public Safety commissioner. They maintained close contact throughout the day. To implement an effective anti-looting plan across 11 commercial corridors would have been a massive undertaking. The Guard told us that they'd be able to provide roughly 100 to 200 members with an additional 84 State Patrol officers. We knew that would be good enough to help with fire support, but not other pressing needs. For the support they did provide, we're grateful, and even more so to see them offering additional support now. We are a police force totaling roughly 800, with far, far less than out on active duty at a given time. Simply by the numbers, we were going to be overwhelmed. It is a matter of math, not planning. Our resources were beyond tapped. We had around 30 to 50 priority 1 calls that were not being responded to at any given moment on top of what was happening. We were overwhelmed. Every available officer was out.
And we're not here to give an opinion on his answers, but as a point of reference, we were told by sources within the police force that they didn't have an idea of what their directive was and what they were supposed to do.
The National Guard said that.
Police officers, sources, and our reporters tell us that they were told they didn't know what their directive was. You have
the question is, what was your directive to the police department about use of force, stopping rioters, allowing takeovers of buildings like the 3rd Precinct and others?
The mayor's answer is as follows. We are a police force totaling over 800 officers with far, far less than that on active duty at any given time. Simply by the numbers, we are going to be overwhelmed. It's a matter of math, not planning. Our resources were beyond tapped. We had around 30 to 50 priority 1 calls that were being responded to at any given moment. On top of that happening, we were overwhelmed. Chief Arredondo and I prioritized above all else the sanctity of life, and we were both devastated to see the city overwhelmed. Every available officer was out, in addition to those from neighboring jurisdictions. And that's the answer that we read. I know it sounds similar to his other one, but again, these are the mayor's words.
And the next question is?
The next question is, what did you make of the governor's characterization today of the city's handling of last night's crisis?
Pointing fingers in a time of national crisis won't make anyone safer. I've been in near constant contact with the governor over the last several days, and I look forward to continue working with him.
And Amelia, here's another question that we asked the mayor. Do you still have confidence in Chief Arredondo should voters still have confidence in you?
And he said he has built up trust in the community over his decades of service to the city that he grew up in. His leadership has never been needed more. My time working with Chief Arredondo has shaped me not just as an elected official, but as a leader. I recognize that residents place a sacred trust in both of us, and I will never take that trust for granted. And this is the last question that was asked of him. With State Patrol and National Guard stepping in, what is your and the city's role now in maintaining order?
The mayor answered, MPD is working alongside the Department of Public Safety as part of the incident command and work closely throughout the night with them in the response. So those are the questions we asked the mayor. Those are the mayor's verbatim answers. This is our helicopter, which may be getting close to the what we believe is a fire at the Olympic Cafe in North Minneapolis. The chopper's been up around the city in a number of different areas. And we're trying to see how they're going to enforce, if they will enforce, the curfew that went into effect about an hour ago at 8 o'clock.
There are a couple of protests going on in Minneapolis, like you said, the one that over there at the 3rd Precinct, and also we saw another one with a group walking down Marquette.
Yeah, right in the heart of downtown. And we know that there's a small police force that was nearby that. There's a much bigger police force at the 3rd Precinct, the now burnt out shell of the 3rd Precinct following Thursday night's violence there. And those people were being pepper sprayed at times, and they were being told to disperse. And the disperse warnings began about 8 o'clock. And the State Patrol would come on the loudspeaker and say, there's an order, you have to disperse, you're not supposed to be here. We'll start to enforce this order. We have not seen any kind of enforcement of that as of yet.
No. So we are keeping an eye on things, so be sure to stay with us here on CBSN Minnesota and join us tonight at 10.
Keep watching CBSN Minnesota for continuing coverage.